And you're good.
All right, Tom Shattuck, I got to be honest with you. We went over this yesterday, but it was big news all day. This stimulus package that the House and the Senate passed overwhelmingly. I was a little skeptical yesterday. I've come around. I heard Lindsey Graham explain to Fox News that it's important to send many, many millions, in this case, 10 million to Pakistan for gender studies, because he explained this. He said women in Pakistan can't open bank accounts without their husband's approval. And I thought, who cares about the damn restaurant owners, the gym owners? Who cares that people can't pay their rent? Who cares? 12 million Americans are being evicted. So what? Women in Pakistan, Tom, can't open a bank account without their husband's permission. And you know what I did? I looked at my paycheck and said, I'm glad they're taking half my money and sending it to Pakistan. That poor woman. Now we send her the millions. You know what, Pakistan? They'll no longer allow men to marry 4 women. That's out. They'll no longer discriminate against women because we sent them my and your hard-earned money. I assume.
Did you see it, by the way?
You guys feel the same way, right?
Yeah. Did you watch it live? Like, did you see Lindsey Graham's face as he's saying, like, he's he's serious about this issue. Like,
yeah.
He's all in.
I asked the question, who did this? And we'll get to Trump's speech, the best speech of his presidency, because he came close to naming names. He certainly named pork barrel projects one after another. It was great. He stuck to the script. He took no questions. It was Trump at his best. And we're going to play some of that because it was so good. But I wanted to know who jammed in this 10 million for Pakistan gender programs. That's all I asked. Find out who it was. Lindsey pretty much confessed. Lindsey is okay pissing away many, many millions, in this case, billions of taxpayer dollars to sending it to shithole countries, foreign countries, for whatever. I mean, to Nepal, to the Sudan. It's a scandal. And I don't think they expected it to blow up on them this way. And I think I understand now why Nancy didn't want to do this before the election. I hope people are waking up. I hope they're seeing this. I hope they're seeing just how little these Congress people and these senators care about them and their struggles and their troubles and this crisis. They don't care. They're busy squandering billions for no good reason. And I'm just glad, at least for 4 more weeks or whatever it is. Yeah, 4 more weeks. We have a president who is calling them out, because in a month, Shattuck, the executive branch is in on this scam every bit as much as these pigs like Pelosi and Lindsey Graham, who should have quit after he got Kavanaugh confirmed, because he's a disgrace. This was a disgrace.
They all are. I am so disgusted at every Republican and Democrat, except for a few. Rand Paul, AOC. I mean, although she got the shot,
voted for it.
There's a couple of people there who actually are saying something about how obscene this is, to be giving all this pork away right now. Freaking legal seafood just submerged. Are you kidding me? The most iconic restaurant in Boston now took a torpedo. Berkowitz had to offload his restaurant.
He didn't even. And by the way, I don't even think he took cash. Like, he gets paid out years from now if it's a successful move for them.
And if they can't survive, who the hell's going to survive? What's going to survive? I was at a movie.
I live 1 block from illegal seafood, and I love it, and it's going away. I mean, this is hitting home. As you know, I've been bitching about my friends who own the gym, the restaurants all over the place, other restaurant owners who I don't even know, who are reaching out to me, and it's clear to me now that the people in Congress, my congressperson, the absolutely insane Ayanna Pressley, everybody, I get that. You want the number? Go over the numbers again. 359 to 53, landslide. Senate 92-7. So almost all our representatives in Washington voted against all those restaurant owners. Voted to give them next to nothing. Voted to give you $600, which is, for a family of whatever, 5, that's a couple of trips to the grocery store. That's it. And they sent tens of millions, billions to, and you've seen the list. I mean, all the countries in the Caribbean, for Christ's sake. And we went over it before, the Sudan and Nepal and India and and Pakistan and just these crazy, wasteful projects. And most people understand it's a scandal. Most people understand these pigs don't care about the voters, the taxpayers. But you had some people defending it, like Lindsey, and I guess I give him credit, went out there and defended $10 million for gender programs in Pakistan. By the way, a country that hates us, a country that where Bin Laden hid out for 8, 9, 10 years, a country that has absolute disdain for everything that we represent, and we're just going to hand them a check. And do you really think that check is going to help the woman open a bank account?
So, yeah, there are things in there. The foreign aid budget is 1% of all American spending. Pakistan is a place I really worry about. 85 countries, a woman can't open up a bank account without her husband's signature. She can't inherit property. If you're a young girl in Pakistan, life is pretty tough. So we're trying to make life better for women throughout the world. But 1%.
Oh, Pakistan funds the Taliban. Pakistan is the parent country of the Taliban. It's absolutely ridiculous. And on a side note, by the way, Jerry, your president-elect Biden, had he been the president, 10 years ago, Bin Laden would still be alive and in Pakistan safely. These aren't our friends. These are foes out there. It's ridiculous. Lindsey Graham, I love him half the time and I hate him half the time.
Well, I hate him right now.
And and then they talk down to you and they say, no, this is an omnibus bill that's partnered with the COVID stimulus relief package. F that. F the omnibus bill. And you look at the American people and say, you're going to get $600 this year. What the frig is $600? Everybody got laid off and furloughed last year. Nobody's going to be made whole from $600.
I heard somebody say this, and let's be honest right now. Let's be honest. 600 is worse than nothing. 600 is an insult. 600 is a number that Nancy Pelosi and her henchmen and Steny Hoyer and the rest of these vile people said, this will keep the peasants at bay. We'll give them 600, and then we'll turn around and give 40 million to the Kennedy Institute and the Smithsonian. They're giving money to the Kennedy Institute for the second time during this pandemic, and it's not open. It's not open. Right. So and if you look at the description, it's for cleanup and for paying overtime to the staff. And I'm saying it's not even open. So the restaurants that want to be open, that fight to be open, get nothing. And the Kennedy Center, where people like the aristocrats get to go watch the ballet, gets another 40 million. And people like Lindsey Graham, you say you like him some, I hate him. He went on TV and tried to, and this is the thing that drives me the craziest. It's only 1% of the budget. I wouldn't give a damn if it were 1/1,000,000th of the budget.
Yep.
It's the principle that you say, we'll give them $600, which is, gas money for a month for, people who are going to work, or like I said, grocery money. And they'll be content. They won't even notice the waste, the corruption on the other side. So here's $600. If they gave them nothing, I would have said at least they didn't insult them. And I give Trump credit for coming out and saying we got to make this 2,000. It has to be more, or it doesn't make any difference at all.
Trump listing all the pork in his speech, that was like just flat out assault. Like you just like stop it. Just please stop. We get it. You know what I mean?
And we'll get to that, but I do have to. I don't want to give him credit. I do have to say, I was amazed that Lindsey Graham did this, because I thought they'd all be hiding like the cockroaches they are. All be hiding, saying it wasn't me, because they have plausible deniability. We can't prove who jammed, the money in for Nepal. And no one else will go out and try to even rationalize it. Only Lindsey Graham will sit there on national TV and say, women can't open bank accounts. Do you know, I'm not losing a restaurant. I'm not losing a gym. I'm not losing my home. And I don't give a damn that women can't open bank accounts in Islamabad. If you're losing everything.
All of the foreign aid they're talking about, all of these millions of dollars and billions of dollars in foreign aid, and we as Americans who've been torpedoed by our own government, we can't recoup any of our own taxpayer money. We'd be better moving to Africa, getting citizenship there, and receiving American taxpayer money than we are being Americans here and getting taxpayer money. It's disgusting, the priorities. And I mean, I don't understand how. Well, yeah, I do understand. We deserve this. This is what we deserve as voters, because we vote them back in
right,
again
we do.
and again and again. We've destroyed the black community in minority communities in this country this year, and we're celebrating ourselves, as having this been a year of a good reckoning, etc. We have made this country a worse place to be, and then we get lectured to by your Congressman Ayanna Pressley about food apartheid.
No,
what the frig is that even?
She went national yesterday. I'll give Ayanna credit. And honestly, it blows my mind. I'm struggling. I have to admit, Shattuck, I'm struggling with this because we've often called out our elected officials for some outrage and, corruption. Obviously, we've been talking about Joe Biden and how corrupt his family is, and it's just par for the course. This latest insanity is kind of pushed me over the edge to the point where I'm looking at people who vote for Ayanna Pressley or vote for Killer Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, people who support these utterly corrupt, immoral people. Ayanna Pressley, for all her faults, isn't hiding, isn't lying. She wants to start the vaccine in prison. She wants, Dzhokhar Zarniev, to get the vaccine before your grandmother. She wants that. And she says it. And I'm thinking, where I live, there's lots of Democrats. Presumably many of them supported her. Do they have grandmothers or mothers and fathers in nursing homes? Do they know old folks who are trapped in nursing homes or assisted living facilities, just waiting for the day they get that injection and they can live again? They know those people. Well, those people have to wait behind Dzhokhar Zarniev in Ayanna Pressley's world. And by the way, Charlie Baker, the biggest fraud in the country, the biggest phony in the country. He's an alleged Republican, if you're not aware of this, who yesterday announced that he's put 5,000 restaurants out of business already. Not enough. He's working to put them all out of business. It is Baker's crusade to destroy every restaurant. We'll get to his latest edict because it's so friggin' outrageous. But he's in on this. An alleged Republican is in on it with Ayanna Pressley to start the vaccines with prisoners, people who've raped and murdered and dealt drugs, and gangbangers. They get to go before the World War II vet, and I'll say this every damn day, they get to go before the elderly folks who've been trapped in their nursing homes, people that have lived their lives and fought for this country and paid their taxes. Those people must wait while Stevie Fleming and Charles James and Jared Remy and Dzhokhar Zarniev get vaccinated. And this idiot, Ayanna Pressley, thinks that a 30-year-old prisoner, a 25-year-old prisoner should go before a 90-year-old World War II vet. A 25-year-old prisoner is in no danger from the virus. And we know that. She doesn't care.
No, and you have some reasonable Democrats who tried to tell us, oh, no, this is about the health of front-facing workers in those prisons. This isn't about the prisoners. No, Ayanna Pressley and the New York Times and others are saying, no, this is about social justice. This is about, righting the wrongs of the past. That's why this has to be given to prisoners, and we have to give it to, based on race, frontline workers, based on race. Right. So instead of giving it to elderly Black and brown people who need it, who will die, you want to give it to frontline workers based on their race, which is a weird eugenics philosophy that's accepted as perfectly reasonable in 2020.
It's bizarre. She doesn't care. Ayanna Pressley only cares about race. That's all that matters is race. And she thinks there are more Black and brown people, to use her term, in prison and more white people in nursing homes. So basically what she's saying is let them die. They will die. The prisoners won't die. I mean, the number of prisoners who's died is infinitesimal. It's like, a small fraction of the number who've died in the general public, because in the general public, you have elderly people, vulnerable people, 80-year-olds, 85-year-olds. They're the ones dying. Ayanna Pressley doesn't care because they're white. It's such an outrage. And I saw it went national and they were talking about it on Fox News and Tucker. And that's good because here she has allies in the media. As you know, well, she has the Boston Globe. She has all the TV stations in Boston. They will not say or do or question her at all. Because if you do, guess what? You're racist. And if she wants white people to die and black prisoners to live, that's just social justice. That's all.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
So
that's Ayanna calling for for violent riots. She supported the Antifa, Black Lives Matter violent riots.
And there is unrest in the streets now, and the crime rate is up 500% in some cities, where black and brown people now can't leave the house, without fear of being shot or beat up or mugged or worse. But nope, that's fine. As long as we've tackled food apartheid and, whatever else the social justice issue du jour that the New York Times is all giddy about, then that's fine. It's so interesting that it's all symbolism. If symbolically we're doing the right thing, that's fine if we hurt marginalized communities more. Freaking insane. It's insane that these people are actually elected and reelected.
Right now, we are managing against converging public health and economic crises amid a national reckoning on racial injustice in this country. Communities from Boston to Portland and everywhere in between are rising up to demand accountability and divestment from broken systems.
And the cops are being defunded and the streets are not livable anymore. And that is who he voted for, Jerry's congressman.
Here's the professor. This is a professor from UPenn, Harold Schmidt, an expert in ethics and health policy. And I believe, is he an advisor to the CDC? He's an influential guy. Quote, older populations are whiter. Society is structured in a way that enables them to live longer. Instead of giving additional health benefits to those who already have more of them, we can start to level the playing field. He wants to deprive white elderly people of the vaccine because white people live longer. And if they die, that means a level playing field. This is one of Ayanna Pressley's allies, supporters, and he's all for giving the vaccine to murderers and rapists and drug dealers ahead of World War II vets, because most of those World War II vets are white.
He's an ethicist, Jerry.
And I don't know how I ended up going back, because I find these things so friggin' outrageous. And it's not every day that you read or hear something that sets you off, that puts you over the edge. But in this case, I feel like it's just a friggin' Gatling gun. Every day I'm going, wait, they're giving my money, your money to Nepal. And by the way, that's just the foreign aid. And, according to Lindsay, it's only 1%. The domestic stuff is more outrageous. The Kennedy Institute, the Smithsonian. Did you follow the horse racing aspect to this? I don't know what you call it. This pork barrel bill, the horse racing. The COVID relief bill. I'm reading from Tom Elliott from Grabian, who's great on this. The COVID relief bill will make it illegal to give racehorses painkillers before training and racing. Horses who are injured or unsound should not train or participate in covered races, and the use of medications and foreign substances as a treatment method that mask or deaden pain in order to allow injured or unsound horses to train should be prohibited. That's money, taxpayers' money, going to protect horse races from receiving painkillers before races. So a congressperson, I assume with the help of a lobbyist from the horse racing industry, jammed this into this 5,600-page bill, which was ostensibly designed to help people pay their mortgage or help people buy groceries. Some scumbag congressperson said, I don't know, maybe it's in Florida, somewhere where there are tracks, and said, we have to help the horse racing industry, and jammed this in. And we don't get to know who that is. So I say we paint them all with a broad brush and say they're all freaking scumbags, all 359 Congress people who voted for this obscenity. And believe me, I got people defending it, defending it and saying, it's only a small fraction and this is typical. This is what happens. This is how it works. Maybe it's good. Maybe this is all coming to light and maybe people are paying attention. God knows. I hope they're They're up there listening to us.
You say this on every single thing. Nobody is paying attention. They're paying attention to one thing, and it is $600. My mother yesterday said to me, "Oh no, it's good actually. I think kids get $100 more in this package." She has no idea that people are jamming in. What's the other one? Somebody jammed in something about it's a felony now to stream or something online. Like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah, bunch.
To stream, that'll probably get us in trouble. But this funding for an investigation into the 1908 Springfield race riot. What? Someone jammed in funding to investigate the Springfield race riot. I don't think it's Springfield, Mass. I don't even know which Springfield. Maybe it's Springfield from the Simpsons. But and then you have whatever, $85 million to Cambodia. I thought we were done with Cambodia back in after Vietnam. I thought we were done once we got Martin Sheen out of there after he killed Marlon Brando. Weren't we done in Cambodia? $135 million to Burma. What is Burma? Is it a country or a city? What is Burma?
I thought wasn't Burma Myanmar? Is Burma?
Oh, is that what Myanmar is? Who knows?
I didn't know Burma existed. I don't know.
Can you think of how much good, as somebody said, Tim Pool said this, 10 million to Pakistani gender programs. He said, I'd rather stop 10 people randomly in the street and hand them each $1 million. They would, invest it or spend it in this country and it would work. I mean, it might be unfair that only 10 people got, but it makes more sense to give 10 random people $1 million each, start a business, put their kids through college, then give it to gender programs so that Pakistani women can open bank accounts without their husband's permission.
What happened to tone deafness? I thought that was a huge felony just a few months ago if you were tone deaf. With the exception if you're in government or if you're part of maybe the top 1%, everybody is hurting. Everybody is, taking a hit here. I mean, I don't know anybody who hasn't been draining their 401k if they didn't already and desperately needs money. People are putting off their mortgages. I'm getting more calls from 800 numbers, which I assume are credit card people saying, where the hell is our money, than I've ever gotten in my life. And this is such an insult, such an FU to make just a small pittance of it. And remember, Pelosi said the $2,000 that Trump wanted to give to people, she said that was a pittance.
That was crumbs to go correctly. All right, I have to turn this off or I'll get distracted for the whole show, because here's another one for you. $193 million set aside for federal HIV and AIDS workers to buy cars while stationed in other countries. So if you're a federal AIDS worker stationed in another country, why are you in another country? But now the taxpayers who are losing everything, some, I assume, losing their cars, right? Some people are losing their cars. They can't afford them, are going to buy cars for AIDS workers in other countries. And that's in England. I'm reading it. I'm reading the.
What is it about people not knowing about all this pork and this stuff? Like, what is it? Just the fact that it's like not included on the nightly news? Like, I'm sure
nobody knew, Dave. Remember, they got a 5,000-page bill, and they had 6 hours to vote on it. So nobody got to.
Nobody knows. No congressperson knows. No journalist knows.
These omnibus bills are like the Bible. They're 500 different little bills written by lobbyists and then combined to one big Leviathan, which is what this thing is.
And you know what? I mentioned 10 million, and everyone's talking about the 10 million to Pakistan. How about this one? 700 million to the Sudan. The Sudan. I don't know why we have to include the. Why can't we just call it Sudan? 700 million for the Sudan. What the hell are they going to do with it? Isn't the Sudan? What's the significance? Like the strategic significance to us, what the Sudan does. 700 million. That's more than $2 from each person in this country to the Sudan. Who would ever be in favor of that? If you put
they have. I'm sure they have debt to pay off, so that makes sense, right?
We are 28 trillion in debt in this country. 28 trillion.
And there's certain bribes and payoffs that we do. Like the Sudan is now, created a treaty with Israel and normalized relations. So maybe there is a wink that somewhere you'd want to grease them. Not now, not with this. Maybe down the road somewhere we can take care of the Sudan, but we got big problems here. The thing is that makes it so vicious is that the government ordered us to destroy our lives. They ordered us to sacrifice our livelihoods. And that's why this is so extraordinary right now. So for DC to be doing business as usual is totally unacceptable. Government forced us to hang ourselves here, and now is, apoplectic that we're angry that they're giving money away for AIDS workers to buy new Teslas. And it's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. I guarantee in the wording they have to be electric cars. Oh, this is a good one. $1 million for the Tibetan scholarship program. So Tibetan people get scholarships on your neighborhood restaurant owner who just went under. They're going to take some of his money. The guy next door who just lost his job and told his kid, they can't go to that college. They're going to take some money from him and invest it in Tibetan scholarship programs. How does this even come up? How does that even get thrown out there on the table for consideration? It's so bizarre, but I got to stop with this. And you know what we should do? We should let our president, at least for 4 more weeks, our president, and you said it first, so I'm not going to steal this from you, his finest speech. And I heard other people say that on Twitter, and I said, wait a second, it's 4 minutes long. He's had some good speeches. He had some great State of the Unions, the one where Nancy Pelosi tore it up. That was a very good speech. Last night was brilliant. And I know that's not often used, that word's not often used to describe Donald J. Trump, but this was brilliant. He stuck to the teleprompter. He took no questions. I think he went off script up for about 2 words. Everything else was written for him, and it had to be because it's so unbelievable. He goes through the numbers in the pork projects, and he doesn't name any names. I give him an A- because if he named some names, including Lindsey Graham and others who jammed this pork into this bill, I would have loved it. I wanted him to do that. He didn't, but he went through item by item, and it was outrageous. You heard it laid out, and we're going to play. The whole thing was 4 minutes long. We'll play a good amount of it, and you will. I don't care if you hate Trump. Listen to this and tell me he doesn't do a brilliant job of summing up this whole scandal.
My fellow Americans, today I want to explain to you why I am so determined to pursue every legal and constitutional option available to stop the theft of the presidential election.
Hold on.
Hey, hold on.
Wait. What does that have to do with this?
I'm sorry. Hold on. Let me go to
wait,
For
Jerry.
example, among the more than 5,000 pages in this bill, which nobody in Congress has read because of its length and complexity, it's called the COVID Relief Bill, but it has almost nothing to do with COVID. This bill contains $85.5 million for assistance to Cambodia, $134 million to Burma, $1.3 billion for Egypt and the Egyptian military, which will go out and buy almost exclusively Russian military equipment, $25 million for democracy and gender programs in Pakistan, $505 million to Belize, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Panama, $40 million for the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., which is not even open for business, $1 billion for the Smithsonian, and an additional $154 million for the National Gallery of Art. Likewise, these facilities are essentially not open. $7 million for reef fish management, $25 million.
I mean, he can just go on and on until
fish management. He goes on and he goes through the whole item by item, and it's brilliant. And he wants to go off script and say, this is ridiculous. And he wants to editorialize. He doesn't. Finishes it, wraps it up, says some stupid thing about how he might, win the election, and walks off and doesn't take any questions, which was smart. And it was perfect. You know why? Because people aren't, I know no one's going to read the bill, but most people, Dave's right, they're not even going to read the stories. They're not even going to know anything about this.
Mm-hmm. What his actual ask was at the end of his speech, nobody mentioned anything about the pork. There's no headline about Trump saying anything about the pork. And he just went on for 90 seconds right there on that.
And you know what? you can't be in favor of this. If you're a decent human being, you might hate whatever Trump, and you might like whatever Tibetan people, but you can't think in a time of crisis, in a time of COVID, with so many businesses going under, that it's a good idea to send 85 million to Cambodia, or whatever, 100 million for reef fish harvesting.
No, but Shattuck made a good point. They don't give a shit about Cambodia. They give a shit about paying off lobbyists. That's all it is. It's nothing about the actual issues. This is just about paying back favors. That's all it is.
Right, and that's why what Trump said was so powerful, because it was a perfect populist message. He elucidated perfectly the outrageousness of this right now, where our own government has its foot on our neck, but they're throwing money for coral reefs. A reef should never get any tax dollars from the United States of America, ever. If you want to get into reef giving, then go ahead and do that on your own time. Work with the Sierra Club or something and build a reef GoFundMe or something. But stay the F away from tax money for your freaking reefs.
What does, when someone brings this item, some scummy congressperson from whatever Illinois brings it to Nancy Pelosi or Steny Hoyer, says, "How about this? I got a project for reef management, and I only want 127 million." Does she laugh off, or do her aides, or do her capos, do they just laugh anyone out of the room?
Because they bring her a gift basket in the form of a political action committee, and in the form of a soft money contribution to the DNC, and then money to Pelosi coffers first. And then she says, "Okay, and what would you like from the American taxpayer?" And they say 128 million. She says, "No freaking problem. Done."
This
no problem. You just gotta wait for a black swan event that involves the entire country. Everyone's hurting, but just wait. I'll pay it back. Don't worry about it. I got you.
I mean, if there was no COVID relief component, would this just slide through? Would people say, would we not even know they were sending money to the Egyptian military? Here's the best one. We didn't even get to this one. I think it's 100 and something million. I'll get the number, to Jordan for its border wall.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful?
There is hundreds of millions of dollars to Middle East countries for border security. The same people, the same 359 scumbags voting for this, not all of them, many of them are against funding our own border wall, because border walls are racist, but they'll fund Jordan's border wall between Jordan and Syria to keep people out. So we could do it there, but not here.
I thought that if you built a 20-foot wall, they were going to build a 20-foot ladder, and that walls.
I heard walls didn't work, Tommy. Walls don't work.
I heard we need bridges more than walls as well. That seems awful inhumane to me.
All right. And by the way, we could do this.
Jerry, you know what would be the best piece of legislation we could possibly have, both state level and federal level, is that in times of pandemics, in times when the American people have extraordinary restrictions put on them, that politicians and people in government should not get paid, so that they could feel that.
I mean, there's a lot of good things like that, right? They get paid. They average, they make 174,000, haven't missed a paycheck, haven't missed a benefit, and they just voted to give you 600, meaning a total of 1,800. A total of 1,800. And by the way, in this bill, they give it to illegal aliens retroactively, so illegal aliens can get as much as you do, but 1,800 in 10 months. So they voted to give people, hardworking Americans, $180 a month. $180 a month.
Incredible.
These people that make, what do they make? They make 180,000 would be 15,000 a month. AOC, who is a half-wit to be kind, makes 18,000 a month, and she voted to give you $180 per month. And you make the best point. I've said it many, many times, and I'm usually against bailouts, like the Obama bailout of the auto industry, of the auto union workers industry. But in this case, this was no fault of their own. The people lost jobs, lost restaurants, lost businesses through no fault. It was government-ordered shutdown. It was involuntary, or I should say voluntary, tanking of the economy by the government, and the people who paid the price are getting crumbs, are getting peanuts, and the people, the Tibetan monks are getting scholarships. But I want to get to. There's so many outrages today. It's so many outrages. It's like I feel like I'm Howard Beale every day now. Is it Howard Beale? Who sticks his head out the window?
No, it's Howard Beale, isn't it?
Right, Howard Beale.
Yeah, network, right? But Jerry, can I just play something that Joe Biden said yesterday?
Of course. Well, I mean, I heard he got asked one question by Peter Ducey of Fox, which is going to be what you're going to get once a month or so. He'll get asked one question by Fox News. He'll blow them off, laugh at them, and the rest of the media will say, "Why are you being so mean to our hero? Don't you know he's here? Because he's a decent human being." And where do you get the nerve asking him a question about his corrupt business practices? But go ahead, Tom Shattuck.
This is where, even worse than that, where Biden calls him a dog and pony show, the same thing ever again. You keep asking me the question that I never answer again. But what I think is even more pernicious than that is this.
Here's the simple truth. Our darkest days in the battle against COVID are ahead of us, not behind us. So we need to prepare ourselves to steel our spines. As frustrating it is to hear, it's going to take patience, persistence, and determination to beat this virus. There'll be no time to waste.
What the hell does that mean? The darkest days are ahead of us. We've lost 300,000. Does that mean another 500,000 are going to die? Is that what he means? Or does he mean that you and I, Jerry, are going to have to lock down for a little bit longer, and a little bit longer, and then a little bit longer, and suck it up? Because economically, we're going to be going down the tubes. Unless you live in a coral reef, you're going to get no relief, and we're going to be going down the tubes more and more.
I watched this. Obviously, you don't get a lot of chances to watch him, and it is kind of comical when he stumbles and bumbles over the words. And here's something else that you're not hearing so much, but every time he talks, it's incredibly depressing. I mean, I know you hear that, people want an optimistic message, and that was Reagan's greatest strength, was he was always optimistic, and, with a shining city on the hill from things like that. He is so depressing. All it is dour, dark, and dark days ahead, and a darkest winter coming. There's nothing uplifting about Joe Biden. It's kind of pathetic, but we should mention this now because Peter Ducey, the only one who ever asks a real question, asked the completely legitimate question about Hunter. And do you still think it was Russian disinformation, which was a lie from the beginning? It's still a lie. Hunter's under investigation by the feds for tax crime, maybe money laundering. Perfectly legitimate question, especially considering Joe Biden was involved in the Chinese venture where they made all the money and probably didn't pay taxes on. And he's asked about it. I don't know if you have this ready, Cullinane, but he blows him off, laughs at him, and calls him a one-horse pony. It was really...
Merry Christmas, everybody. Thank you.
Do you still think that the stories from the fall about your son Hunter were Russian disinformation at his smear campaign, like you said?
Yes. God love you, man. You're a one-horse pony. I tell you. Thank you. I promise you my Justice Department will be totally on its own, making its judgments about how they should proceed. Thank you.
A, right there, he's arrogant, blowing it off, laughing at him. Perfectly legit question. B, he's lying because he knows it's not Russian disinformation. Mm-hmm. And C, what the hell is a one-horse pony? And the worst part, of course, is the rest of the media, these pathetic, slobbering lapdogs. They mock and snicker at Peter Ducey, the only journalist in the room, for asking a real question. They're involved in the cover-up. We know that. We've seen it all along. And they are ready to double down. They are ready to circle the wagons around their guy and protect him from these accusations. But he just, if you don't see the video, he laughs at him, like dismisses him. Like, how dare you ask me about my corrupt son who's under federal investigation? How dare you? I mean, he's getting so comfortable around the rest of these stooges that he knows it's going to be a 4-year, or whatever, say year and a half he'll last, maybe a year and a half. He knows it's just going to be one tongue bath after another.
Yeah, and it always is. And there's in the other, you can hear it, like you said, the other press, the people in the White House press corps, are like, oh, come on, did you have to do what? Really?
Yeah.
You know, when Peter Doocy does that, people like Yamiche Alcindor, who, by the way, is getting stimulus money, Jerry, through the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
That's true. We got huge money for NPR
Yep.
and the corporation and NEA, National Endowment for the Arts, and all the rest of those boondoggles are getting a new infusion of cash thanks to you, the taxpayers who lost their jobs. But go ahead, Shattuck.
Right. Yamiche Alcindor, of course, will yell at him for daring to. Why would you say that about the president in this incoming administration? Remember, they're superheroes, Jerry.
It felt like we're being rescued from this craziness that we've all lived through from the last 40 years. And now here are the superheroes to come and save us all.
That's
you know what?
Be.
I will always give credit to Trump for accomplishing a lot in his 4 years. It felt like 8 because he did get a lot done, but he did not defund NPR. He did not defund Planned Parenthood. There are just some things he could have done. I wish he could have done. He's probably not going to do them for the next 4 weeks, but maybe the next guy. Maybe. Oh, by the way, this isn't. I don't want to get into this, but I'm crossing Josh Hawley off my list. Josh Hawley voted for this pork barrel bill. A bunch of good Republicans didn't. Mike Lee, Ted Cruz, Marsha Blackburn. They didn't, but Josh Hawley did. He's going to have to He's going to go take a lot for him to make up for this mistake. But
Jerry, can I give a small defense to Lindsey Graham and Josh Hawley?
Sure.
Okay, devil's advocate. Perhaps this was all about Georgia and winning the Senate race in Georgia. It's still
you're gonna have to explain that to me because everybody knows this bill is a joke. Nobody thinks, oh, thank God they gave me my $600. Nobody wants. I shouldn't say they don't want 600. They want more, and Trump is promising more. So if you voted for this bill, you voted for less, not more.
Yeah, I understand that. I do think that Trump was a little late. You know, it would have been nice to hear this about a month ago. You know, from him, that would have been good. Rather than having Giuliani run from courthouse to courthouse, it would have been nice to have Trump try to get us relief when we could have had the national conversation. But yeah, there is no excuse. I mean, I try to say that it's politics being politics, but this is a time. This is an extraordinary time where there is no excuse. $600. Just give us nothing. Just give nothing.
Screw you, Judge. Screw you, Josh Hawley. Screw you. Unless you bring down, the big ticks. I'm out on Josh Hawley. I'm in on DeSantis because DeSantis and Christie Noem. There's some good governors doing God's work out there, but let's get to the bad governors, Shattuck. Shall we? We got outrage. I should have listed the outrages today because we got two new ones, and one. We'll do our governor of Massachusetts, Charlie Baker, the biggest fraud in the country, an alleged Republican, but you're going to have to explain to me what makes him a Republican. He's as much of a authoritarian, a petty dictator as any Democrat. And yesterday, what he did basically should have come out with a hammer and nail and said, this is it. I'm going to drive the last nail into the coffin for most Massachusetts restaurants. He'd already destroyed about 5,000 of them. He'd already made it impossible for anyone to open a new restaurant. Yesterday, he rolled back to phase, whatever the hell it is, phase 1, section 2, subsection B. I mean, and he said restaurants can only do business at 25% capacity. I said 600 is worse than nothing. 25% is worse than nothing.
Right.
They were at 40%. Some were going under, obviously. Others were struggling just to stay afloat. They were hoping for a good Christmas, New Year's season, indoor dining. They had all kinds of measures and plastic screens and sanitation stations, and they were just barely surviving. Well, you know what he did? He put his foot on their head and put them back underwater to finish them off yesterday by going back to 25%. I hope someday people wake up and realize what a monster Charlie Baker is, what destruction he wreaked on this on the Commonwealth, because there's no restaurant that can survive at 25%. None.
No, they've already missed all the holiday party money that restaurants count on all year. They've missed. That's all gone. All the functions that they usually would have had all through December, they've missed. And now it's incredible. Right as Roger Berkowitz is saying, My family legacy is over. Legal seafoods, as you know it, is no more. I can't take it anymore. COVID, these restrictions are destroying us. Right when he does that, Baker unloads this.
Effective Saturday, December 26th, capacity limits will be lowered to 25% for most industries, and the Lieutenant Governor will talk more about the details on this shortly. Indoor and outdoor gathering limits will be reduced to 25 people outside and 10 people inside, including for events.
10 people inside, including for events. You know what the best thing is, Jerry, is that he's still, when he pairs that with yelling at us, he's still pissed off about what we did last month.
Our hospitals are now under significant pressure, and we're heading toward another period, this holiday stretch, when we're likely to see another significant increase in cases and hospitalizations, unless everybody plays a very different game than the one we all played at Thanksgiving.
We were playing games, Jerry, last month. That's what we were doing. We were trying to be human beings and living like human beings rather than living like you're in a gulag. We were playing games. Can you imagine? You know, he hangs out with people.
He is so vile. This man is so vile. What he's doing is blaming restaurants, blaming them for a problem that's not caused by them. He can't stand in front of the cameras and, you know, these slobbering Globe reporters who think it's wonderful because they don't feel anything. They don't lose their jobs. They're still on John Henry's, dole. They're still on, they're getting their money for nothing. He's sitting there and say, we have to roll back. We have to put restaurants out of business. No more gas and no churches. When it's not their fault. They didn't do this. They didn't spread the virus. It's not their fault for the spike. I mean, they didn't kill anybody in a soldier's home in Holyoke. That was you, Charlie Baker. That was you. People are dying in the nursing homes, which you are supposed to be regulating. That's where they're dying. They're not dying in restaurants. I mean, it's so outrageous.
No, he did. They're all doing the right thing because they lecture us about masks. We're playing games. They're getting rewarded.
So, healthy holiday, and I'm going to have a great one. Santa's going to be very good to me. I can tell.
Of course he is, because he's.
I want to get to him. Yeah, fine. We're done with Baker.
Oh, can I just one more thing about Baker, Jerry? One more thing that I caught.
We're going to get to Cuomo. Killer Cuomo is next because I got a new story about the devastation in New York that is just mind-boggling. But go ahead, Shattuck.
One other thing that Baker says that I find freaking chilling, and if we had a robust media, then you would hear more about this.
So today we're announcing new statewide restrictions that will be in place for at least 2 weeks, starting Saturday, December 26th. These will be in addition to our existing orders, including the stay-at-home advisory, the face mask requirements, and the early closures that are already in place. Together, the intent of these restrictions will be to pause activity and reduce mobility.
To pause activity and reduce mobility. In other words, he and a bunch of public health experts who aren't physicians generally, these are sociologists, get together and say, okay, guys, I want to hear ideas. Throw ideas, spitball here with me. How do we pause the activity of these nuisances and reduce their mobility? Ideas, people, ideas. Well, we reduce the restaurant size to 10%, to 10 people inside. Good idea, good.
Close them at 8 instead of 9. How's that? Oh yeah. And he says it so cavalierly. I mean, he lies every day. He lies about friends with COVID, lies about friends who've died from COVID. It's all a lie. It's as Howie Carr's documented. He just makes stuff up. He doesn't know anyone. It hasn't hit home. He's so cavalier and so calm. Like, yeah, we're going to just put another 100, 200 restaurants out of business, put more families on welfare. You know, we're just going to ruin the lives of a few thousand people.
Kids, Jerry, the kids
face him. He's a sociopath.
Yes, we just talked to a public health expert, somebody who runs a hospital last week, and she said kids are cutting themselves. These are kids under 10 years old. They're not doing well because public health experts out there are pausing activity and reducing mobility. Well, there are real casualties to this. At some point, there's going to be a real reckoning for this. But right now, we're in this freaking backwards period where Cuomo's patting himself on the back, still on a book tour, selling posters, saying that Santa's going to,
Santa's going to be good to him, which is amazing. One last thing on Baker, while he's putting the restaurant business out of business, like forever, destroying legal seafood, along with 5,000 other restaurants, he's raising your gas tax. to fight climate change. This is the biggest clown on, I don't care. I don't care that he's a Republican. He's the biggest clown in America, destroying restaurants and bars and gyms and foisting a gas tax on people to change the climate. We get this little tiny state. We get 6 million people in a planet with 7 billion, and he says, "I'm going to do something that is obviously just for show. That is obviously performative art." He doesn't care. He knows it's not going to affect the climate. He's just, look at me. To his friends at Harvard and the friends at the Globe, look at me. I care about the climate. He doesn't care about anybody who works for a living, but he cares about the weather.
Can we at least get a gold star for our good job in the climate since nobody's driven in 9 months?
Right.
I mean,
that's true. By the way, that's coming. I predicted this already. Within the next 5 years, you are going to hear public officials call for a shutdown for the climate, not for the virus. The virus will be gone. Trump took care of that. But they'll look at the numbers, the carbon emissions that we had over the last 9 months and say, we must do that. We must shut down to save the planet, which they love. That puts people out of business, out of work. Everyone, goes to work at Amazon or gets on the dole. It's coming. But let's get to the Big Apple. Let's get to Killer Cuomo. I guess I can say something nice about Baker, even though I hate him. He's never ever going to be in Andrew Cuomo's class. Never. Right. This is the Dark Knight, man. This guy has destroyed the biggest, most vibrant city, and he's not done yet. This is a story in the New York Post today. Just another, not a big deal, not a headline. The headline, the story is famous brands close their New York City shops in record numbers. The Big Apple saw a record 1 in 7 nationally recognized chain stores close their doors as the pandemic sent customers scurrying for cover. Some 1,132 chain stores, including 70 Duane Reads, 54 Starbucks have waved their white flag over the last 12 months. 1,132 chain stores have closed during this insane overreaction to the pandemic. I guess the good news, if you're a Dunkin' Donuts fan, Dunkin' Donuts is the biggest retail chain in New York with 608 locations. They closed 28. That's a major victory, only closing 28. But a bunch of the others, Soul Cycle has been devastated, which is no surprise. People can't afford that if they're getting laid off. But here's Manhattan. That's just the all New York, the 5 boroughs. Is it 5 boroughs?
Yes.
Manhattan absorbed the deepest cuts with 556 chain closures, almost half in the city.
Incredible.
Half the chain stores have closed due to the borough's dependence on office workers, tourists, and wealthy residents who have hit the bricks. They have left. 546 chains in one borough in Manhattan have closed due to Andrew Cuomo and de Blasio's insane overreaction and crazy lockdowns. And there's no end in sight. You just heard Charlie Baker. He just said we're going to clamp down on restaurants and churches for 2 weeks, which means 6 more months.
Yeah, and de Blasio, he's also pausing activity and reducing mobility for every single person in every single business in Manhattan, except for the night that Biden won. And then de Blasio was out in front of those closed down retail stores, smoking weed and partying in the streets and encouraging people to party in the streets.
Right.
And that is the other half of this thing, that either it's a killer pandemic or it's not. But it's interesting how they can suspend it. I know we talk about it every week, but it's disgusting. And for Cuomo to be so proud of himself, this guy still may get a role in this administration, by the way.
I hope he does. I hope he does, because if he were to go before the Senate, that'd be the first time anyone asked him a tough question. I don't know if you see his press conferences, but he still thinks he's performing. Mm-hmm. You point out, you played that cut. Play this again, because it's just the way I think. I think of Janice Dean, who lost both her in-laws. I think of the 11, 12,000 seniors who were killed by this man because he put coronavirus patients in nursing homes, meaning 50, 70, 80, 100,000 New Yorkers who lost a relative, a parent, a grandparent to this guy's negligence. and he steps up there and smiles and talks about how Santa's going to take good care of him. That he's the most arrogant, tone deaf, just brazen public official I think I've ever seen.
So, healthy holiday, and I'm going to have a great one. Santa's going to be very good to me, I can tell. I worked hard this year, social distance, wear a mask. Be smart, be smart. Washington made a deal on the financial package.
So why would Santa be rewarding him unless like Santa holds stock in coffin companies? Like
Santa might, Santa likes kids. He might hate old people because Cuomo has wiped them out in New York State. And he's done a good job. Again, he wrote a book. He went on a book tour. He won an Emmy. He schmoozed with all his famous friends. And now there's talk of him joining the administration. And I'd be all for that. First of all, I'd be happy for New Yorkers to get rid of him. And secondly, if he ever had to get confirmed, you would actually have, I don't know, one or two senators who would ask a tough question. Maybe Ted Cruz would ask about the nursing home debacle. And it'd be the first time someone's asked Cuomo a tough question. It'd be great. It'd be worth watching.
They should have to report in those press conferences. They should be forced to talk about the business closures that are going on. And maybe because there's so many, you can't mention every one, but mention like 5 of them and say, then you can get the complete list of today's closures on our website. Because maybe when people start to see that and hear it, they'll start to feel it a little bit more. Because it's how do you expect a Dwayne Reed to go out of business, but the local small guy is going to stay in business? Like it's not rational.
70 Dwayne Reeds, which I would think they'd be, like CVS and Walgreens, they'd be okay in this situation because people can go in there. They have to go in there. 70, not because of the restrictions, but because the residents and the people working there, the people commuting into the city are all gone. The people who live there are leaving, so the drugstores are closing. Starbucks is closing.
But these reporters aren't going to ask him. The only time the guy Jimmy Veland from the Journal or the Post, wherever he's from, asked him a question, he and Cuomo snapped at him, said, "Damn it, you change your attitude. You don't talk to me like that." Yeah. It's ridiculous. The rest of the reporters are busy taking pictures with Cuomo's Emmy, that he got for being such a masterful handler of this pandemic. It's the media. I don't like Trump saying the media is the enemy of the American people.
I do.
The media.
It's accurate.
Many in the media, and certainly in the national media, are toxic.
That toxic, good word, and they're just shameless, and they're corrupt, and they're immoral, and we're going to see it.
They're just completely downplaying the economic impact as well. I mean, if the local restaurant goes down and 10 people lose their jobs, that means 10 rents aren't going to get paid, or 10 more. Like the impact.
People at the Globe, if you work at the Globe, you don't care about that. You care about global warming. You care about climate change. You care about the planet. You're happy we're sending money to Tibet and Nepal and the Ivory Coast. Somehow you think that makes you feel better because, you care about the globe. You care about all of not God's people. You care about all.
It's playing out in an accelerated way. You mentioned all the businesses in Manhattan, but also just look at the same kind of leadership and the same kind of restrictions is what's happening in California. And there is a mass exodus out of California. Hewlett-Packard left California. Most of these Silicon Valley companies.
Oracle left. Joe Rogan left, Ben Shapiro left, Elon Musk left, and the Rose Bowl left. The Rose Bowl moved to Texas. It's great. It's obviously that is a preview of things to come for the rest of the country. Things start in California. It's a petri dish, and we're seeing it destroyed by crazy left-wing policies. And it ain't going to end anytime soon.
No, and now Newsom wants legislation that's going to fine and tax companies even after they've left. So if you move out of California into Austin, Texas, you're going to have to pay taxes in California for a decade. I mean, about
the good news, if you're Gavin Newsom, though, is that the French Laundry is going to get some major stimulus money. That. They'll get, 10 times more than the average restaurant?
17 times. It was
17 times more.
$2.5 million.
All right, we have to get to a couple other things before I put Shattuck on the spot and find out why he overplayed my big announcement yesterday. I'm blaming you entirely, but I was thrilled like everybody else. I laughed out loud when I saw Tom Brady troll Tony Dungy yesterday. This was great for about 10 seconds until I realized Tom missed the mark. If you missed it, Tony Dungy hates Brady, hates everything about the Patriots. And I guess he would be the first troll because he was trolling Brady. He says he'd pick, is it 6 quarterbacks ahead of Brady?
Yes. Yep.
If he had to pick a quarterback, and it's Steve Young, John Elway, Peyton Manning, by the way, because he says when asked why he would take these guys ahead of Brady, he says because he likes mobile quarterbacks. No, he just doesn't like Brady, doesn't like the Patriots, Belichick. It's a sore spot. We know that. And he does this whenever he's asked about quarterbacks. He disrespects Tom Brady. And in this case, he listed the quarterbacks he'd take ahead of Brady, and it's kind of ridiculous. Nobody would ever agree with him. And so Brady responded by just tweeting out the flag, the banner that they put up in Indianapolis for what was it for? For
making the AFC Championship, wasn't it?
Making the championship. So it says AFC finalist.
Finalists, yes.
2014. And Brady posted, there it is, just a banner, ridiculous banner. They lost the championship game, but they posted that. And everybody was giving him credit, saying, oh, what a savage for embarrassing, firing back at Dungy. But then it turns out, as people did a little research, that Tony Dungy wasn't even the coach of that Colts team. So Brady didn't delete it or anything, did he? He didn't even mention it.
No, he left it up there. He's just moved on. Yeah.
Yes, he puts Aaron Rodgers ahead of Brady, Steve Young, John Elway. It's silly, but again, it's just the way he's always felt. He hates Brady. Brady posts that banner, and then everyone says Tom Dungy wasn't the coach. But in defense of Brady, don't you associate Dungy with the Colts? Don't you know that he was rooting for the Colts against the Patriots, that he's always going to root for the Colts? So this is embarrassing for the Colts. So it must be, by extension, embarrassing for their former coach.
Sure. Sure. Tony Dungy overrated, by the way. I don't know who wants to take his opinion on this. Isn't he?
He's terrible. I mean, I'm sure he's a nice guy and a good Christian, but do you ever hear him say anything on NBC that's really enlightening?
No, but even as a coach, right? Like his playoff record isn't good, right? He's got to be under 500 playoff.
Didn't he win with the Buccaneers too?
Yes, he did, but it wasn't. It was his team, right? But Gruden won, and he, you're right. He has a great reputation, but he didn't win much, and he doesn't sound like I don't even know why. I guess he's there because everyone likes him, and he's a good, like I said, like the moral leader of the NFL. So they put him on these shows, put him on NBC, but he's never tells you. He's not like Gruden was, or Tony Romo was, or even Rodney Harrison is. He doesn't tell you stuff. Tell you things you don't know, does he?
No, he was good the first few years against Rodney Harrison. That was good because the gimmick. It was kind of like the Sox Yankees thing. But I don't think he's anything special. And
Rodney's humorless. Rodney's good, but he's humorless. He doesn't ever, if you hear him on the radio, he never jokes about anything. He's a very serious guy. I'm trying
speaking of that, I know it's off topic. Did you see? We didn't talk about this earlier in the week. Did you see Aqib Talib? Fantastic.
Yeah, I'll give him this. He's different. He's he's there. He's doing the game because he sounds so different when he's on Red Zone and you're bouncing around. He just jumps out at you because the rest of them sound like all the same. And there's Aqib Talib. I'm not sure he brings a lot of insight to the game either, but he's starting off. He's refreshing.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I don't know, maybe long term it kind of gets boring, but or it just becomes predictable at that point, not as funny. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
And he's going to go nowhere because that he got great reviews. And they're probably looking for young, African-American analysts. And he's just starting out. Can I get Tony Dungy's friggin' record? Sorry, getting Tony Dungy. You asked for his coaching record. I'm trying to get it.
I'm going to posit, by the way, that Peyton Manning would have had a better career in New England than Brady did.
Yeah, Peyton Manning would have had a great career in New England, but it's impossible to have a better career than Tom Brady. It's impossible. Nobody is even close, and no one else would win 6 Super Bowls.
But how can you say it's impossible? Those first 2 Super Bowls weren't like the kicker won the first 2 Super Bowls, right?
There was a quarterback involved too. With 121 left, the quarterback led them into field goal range. You can say that because I know you want to,
Oh, I mean, I just think that Manning was a surgeon. He was so impressive.
I'm going to say Manning's the second best quarterback ever. How's that? God damn it! All I get is Tony Dungy's playing record. I want his friggin' coaching record. Can you get it for me, please?
I'm seeing. Let's see.
You're the one that mentioned his postseason record.
Yeah. Oh, he's over 500 in the regular season. He's
what's his postseason record?
Postseason. Hang on. He is 19-9 in the postseason.
There you go. Disparage my man Tony Dungy.
I didn't realize he was 139-69 in the regular season, though. That's actually better than I thought he was, but
that is a damn good regular season record. Playoffs, 19-9. Take it all back.
Yeah.
Cullinane. That's a great postseason record. But one Super Bowl. One Super Bowl. That's nothing. But anyway, all right. I'm gonna do Shea Concrete, and then I'm gonna put Shattuck on the spot. Asked him why he ruined my big surprise. Actually, I shouldn't say that. You didn't ruin the surprise. You overplayed it, and then I had to take all the
Incorrect.
First, I'm going to tell you what you can do. Do it for a loved one this Christmas. It's not too late. You can call Shea Concrete, and you can have them build you a building, build you a precast concrete building, and you can do it in the winter because they do it all indoors. You don't have to go outside. Check out the precast concrete buildings from Shea Concrete. All right, before we wrap this up, Shattuck, you tweeted, you weren't even on the show yesterday, but you tweeted that I had a big announcement. So I was on the spot, and I had to do the big announcement, which to some people wasn't big enough. It's big to me. It's big to me. It's big to Dave. We are joining the Podcast One family, as we announced yesterday. We are going national. We are starting with them on January 4th. There'll be some things that sound different. There'll be spots. There'll be production. That will be
another shot at Dave.
And there'll actually be someone who does some production, which will be nice. And they're going to try and get us to do some guests, and some guests we'll do and some we won't, but we're going to keep you knuckleheads around for sure. And we'll see how it goes. But you kind of gave the secret away, and you overplayed it. And immediately people said, what's the big deal? It's another one of those stupid announcements that doesn't really affect the listener. And it affects the listener, but not as much as it affects me. So why'd you do that to me?
It's a huge.
You set it up, though, Jerry. You set it up the day before and made it into it. You didn't say that it's really a huge announcement for me, not necessarily for you. So
this is Dave now, who stabbed me in the back on Twitter saying Shattuck hyped this thing. I completely got it when you were on with Turtle Boy on Monday. You kept mentioning the big show announcement. The big show announcement was coming tomorrow, so I got excited about it, Jerry. I was inspired by a certain gentleman from who, speaking of postseason, who coughed up the Chelmsford High School game in 1979.
Where'd you get that announcement? We're going to be here for a couple more days this week, and we'll have a big announcement. We'll get to that big show announcement, and I mean a good one.
I don't know what inspired me, Jerry. But
did I overplay it? I mean, it is a big deal to me.
It is a big deal. This is you going back to the show, Jerry. This is huge. It's
a big deal because we've been trying to do this for a year, and obviously we had this little pandemic that got in the way. But it took a while. Negotiations take a while, but we got it done.
That is huge. But I think that the problem was with other than the fact that Cullinane's a weasel, but I think that the problem is that online, I think a lot of like older Twitter users, people my age and up, assume that terrestrial radio is a thing still. And so if the announcement was you were going to EEI, that's a demotion. That wouldn't be good news.
Believe me, that will never happen. They go in the other direction. Everybody, if they make some changes on EEI, and they will, they're going to go cheap. Trust me. If you see a new person, it's going to be someone working for the bare minimum That's the way they're going. I mean, the revenue is gone. The ratings are obviously in the toilet, but they're not the only ones. I mean, radio, even stations with decent ratings have no revenue. I mean, all the
right.
Again, we go back to all the industry, all the restaurants that are hurting, the hair replacement places, and by the way, sports teams too. Like the Garden and all the ancillary business because of games and crowds, and they're all gone. It's gone. I mean, they're done. They're not coming back. As Springsteen said, those jobs are leaving, boys, and they ain't coming back.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no,
this is the way everyone's going. You know that. This is everyone's. Podcasting is the future. We know that now.
Yeah. And now you're on the same essentially station with Adam Carolla, and your spots are running on Carolla. I heard Carolla spots on your show like 5 days ago. And I'm like, what the hell is this? This isn't.
Yeah, and that's just what I mean. Like from the listener perspective, nothing changes. Literally, their life just goes on the same. About the show's still going to get released at the same time. They're going to hear it the same way, same platforms. So you should have said, no, you need to be happy for me when I give this show announcement.
You need to be happy for me. And you're going to hear some difference. There'll be more guests, and they'll hopefully be good ones. We're not going to do bad ones, but I'm also doing commentaries every week, and I don't even know where they appear, but I do commentaries on the NFL. I do, and Cullinane knows this. They're brilliant. They're performance art. And I have never heard one of them, but they're out there somewhere on the podcast.
Oh, I usually, by the way, I don't side with dramatic radio people and the work effort to do X and the work to do this. The work Jerry has to put in to do those stupid 60-second bits, that's real work. That's like copywriting. So I'll give you credit.
You don't even know me in that regard. I'm slow. I'm not a fast writer, so it is work, but we're getting it done. And
maybe you should churn out a damn newsletter, Jerry. Let's go. That's the other half of this thing.
Maybe that'll be next, Shattuck. You never know. That's something to consider. We'll see how this goes, first of all, okay? We're going to see how this goes. But I thanked everybody yesterday, including you and all the rest of the co-hosts. But you know what? I'd put you right near the top of the list, right up there with, Reamer and Sapichetti. You're up there. I don't know that Not
You're
sure
still leaving us behind. I feel like I'm on the American embassy in Saigon in 75.
Shattuck is by far the most reliable, yet he's also the most desperate. So they kind of work hand in hand.
The
See how they work together?
CEO of Podcast One said we really need Tom Shattuck's sports expertise. He said he wants your NFL picks every week. He wants you to break down the NBA playoffs. So we have to keep you around, and we will do that. We will we'll be taking a few days off, and believe it or not,
we didn't talk about the BYU game. I wanted to talk about.
That's true. We didn't talk about Zach Wilson, your next Patriot quarterback, or I should say, your 2021 starting Patriot quarterback, Zach Wilson, for BYU, led them in the Boca Raton Bowl over Central Florida last night. If you saw him, he was probably too good. He probably worked his way up the draft board, so the Patriots won't even have a chance. But he might be there, according to some of my draft gurus, experts. If Zach Wilson's there, that would be an exciting choice for the New England Patriots. But
the guy we have, Terry, is on pace to have a dozen passing touchdowns.
No, he's not. He's on pace to have about 7. It's embarrassing, and it's not going to get any better. You get 2 more games of the Cam Newton era, then he's going to take his funny hats and go elsewhere. But
why is he so awful? He's like physically, he seems like he should be
inaccurate. He's not making good decisions, and he's not making accurate throws, and those are not good things for an NFL quarterback. But
which again goes to my point that this season actually exceeded expectations because you had a nobody behind center. You had how many holdouts were there for COVID at the beginning of the season?
Was it 7 or 8 or 9?
7 or 8. So exceeded expectations. Great job. Great season.
We'll see if they finish strong and let the Jets win in the last game. If the Jets still have a shot at Trevor Lawrence, then Belichick lets them win so that they don't get Trevor Lawrence. That'll be kind of interesting. But that's the last of the suspense to this season for New England. But we will leave it there, Shattuck. I want you to have a good Christmas, you and your 27 children.
Thank you.
I hope you've made your reservation for church. Turtle Boy said you got to make a reservation if you want to take your family to church. So you got to do that. But you have a good one, and we will talk to you again soon. Again, thanks for all you've done for us, Shattuck.
Thank you.
And I'm going to get myself some big bag of peanut M&Ms just for your Christmas bonus. And
Thank
I
you.
know you'll.
No, his Christmas bonus is the rights to what was it? The
The
rights
little
to
Jerry Callahan
yeah,
merchandise.
rights to little
You-
Jerry Callahan merch. There you
You
go.
got it. That is Tom Shattuck from the Burn Barrel Podcast, who will soon have merchandise, including shirts and hats with his chickens and roosters on them, including little Jerry Callahan, the head rooster
Yes.
in the Shattuck chicken coop. But you got it, man. You got it. You got permission from me. Go nuts.
Thank you.
All right, Shattuck, thanks. And thanks to Shea Concrete and Allied Paving at DCU. And thanks to everybody for listening, rating, subscribing. We appreciate it. We will be taking the Christmas holiday off and working on a few things, getting ready for our podcast one debut. I want everyone to have a great Christmas. As I always say, tonight, thank God it's them instead of you. The most heartwarming Christmas wish from Bono, I believe, in the We Are the World, whatever that's called, Christmas song. Tonight, thank God it's them starving to death and not you. That's what we should all do on this Christmas season. But
Actually, we are feeding the world in this stimulus check,
that's
Jerry.
a good point. Tonight, thank God it's them getting $70 million for their gender programs in Pakistan and Tibet. Thank God it's them and not you. Or should I say, wish to pray to God it'll be you and not them next time. But all right, Cullinane, what are you doing for Christmas? You're staying bucket down?
Staying put. I do want to do one final disclaimer to our Facebook Live audience that was loyal, by the way, and a lot of people showing up each and every day. We got really good numbers on Facebook Live. We're donezo, so maybe we'll see you again. I don't know, but we're done as of today.
But all you have to do is subscribe. Go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, hit subscribe, and you can listen every day. And there'll be some video. We'll be on video somewhere, somehow, and we will keep you posted. Or you can do this too. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Jerry Callahan, and he's at Dave Cullen. Is that it, Dave Cullinane?
At Dave Cullinane, at Tom Shattuck, wherever.
And follow the show. We never promote this because I don't know why we don't, but you can follow the Jerry Callahan Podcast. Is that what it is on Twitter?
Callahan Podcast on
Callahan Podcast on Twitter. We'll keep you posted. We'll tell you where you can find us on video. We'll give you any updates we have with the transition to Podcast One. It's an exciting time, Shattuck. It's big, real big for me. For me.
I know. We expect to be abandoned very soon, Jerry, as you
you
go
will
back into the bright lights.
Head to Callahan Podcast on Twitter to follow Jerry's transition, everybody. So there you go.
Yeah, I will be transitioning this holiday season. And if you want to stay up to date, follow me and follow the show, the podcast on Twitter. All right. Thanks very much. Have a great Christmas, everybody. I'm Jerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again real soon.